Oh. Oh. And the doctor also passed away?
Jignesh, is it you? I'm hearing bad news
Oh, bad news.
from somebody's mic.
Oh, is it me? I guess probably it's me. Nothing. Uh, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's my wife talking to somebody, her friend. So
No, I see. Yeah. Right.
sorry about that.
No worries. Um, how are you guys doing, everyone?
Good.
Good.
Haven't. I guess I'll feel the soreness tomorrow, probably from the workout today. I don't know.
Delayed onset.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. It's really bad. DOMS. Yeah.
Mm,
My worry is that so if there's a delayed onset, so I mean, when we go to the hike, when we go to the actual climb,
yeah.
so first day you're going to climb, and then next day you're supposed to do the summit next night, right? And that's the time when you have DOMS.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, like that's where, like, typically, like when we train, like when we are not doing, I mean, other than COVID situation, we try to like do long distances and ask for folks to like do like back to back on Saturday and Sunday, um, like to just get a feeling of like how their body is reacting, right? We haven't done any long distances until now for Baker
Yeah.
folks, and I mean, like it's gonna be a little bit fatigued, but it's totally fine. You know, you need more rest time basically after the climb. um,
But then I think it'll be first day is what 3,500 or something, right? Feet, and then how many miles?
yeah, it's about like 3.5 miles. Hardly, not even 3.5 miles. Yeah, because
Okay.
like it's like 6.25 miles to the summit
Okay.
from the cars. Mm. People do Baker like the route which you guys do, like in a single day. I was planning on doing it next weekend on a single day because Mountaineers is not doing overnight trips for their policies per their policy. So yeah, but like they also were restricting everybody to like 12 miles round trip, so we were like almost posted that trip and we found out like it's 12.5 miles. We're like, okay, we found a different place.
Right.
But right now I think there are uh, let's see, 13 participants. um, okay, so I think it's a good number to get started, I guess. Let me try to see everybody's faces. I mean, if you're doing something else, that's totally fine. Just trying to remember how people look. So we have. Let me also pull up my spreadsheet over here so that I know like who is climbing Baker. So I think let me go by dates, I guess. Okay, so June 8 and 9, like a week from now, we have Chaitanya, Madhur, and Sandeep. So Sandeep is over here, Chaitanya is over here, and Madhur is over here as well. Awesome. And then we have six folks. Akshay, Alakha. Akshay is here, I guess. Not yet. I don't see him. Okay. Then so basically Akshay is not over here. So they're not over here. Janvi, are you here? Nope. Okay. Vijay probably is not here as well. Colin, not here. Okay. Who's my phone? My iPhone, sorry.
That must be me. Chinna.
Oh, Chinna, okay. Samrat, are you here? Oh yeah, I see you. Then we have that's like June 15 to 17, and then we for the last trip, June 24 to 26 is Keshav. Not over here. And then Nishala, are you here? Yeah, I see you. Okay, cool. I just have to like find people. See, I did not even recognize your face. It's been such a long time, and everybody is shy, you know. All right, Asmita. I think Asmita is. I saw her name. Yeah, Waterfall. Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Colin joined us as well. I see his name pop up, so that's good. Shruti. Nope, I don't see her. Okay. Chinna is over here. Madhvi is over here. Jignesh is over here. Balaji and Nabnita. Yeah, Nabnita is here, so that's good. And then one exception is Tarangini is doing a special trip, solo trip. Awesome. Um, it's not a solo trip. She is doing with the Mia people, just because things have been like we wanted to keep even numbers, and she also felt like she needed more time. So luckily we found something. So that's what it is. So before I do anything, I wanted to quickly, you know, I think go over this. I think you guys know this already. Right now there will be like minimal changes for whatever unless the COVID situation comes in, because the training is all posted on meetup.com. I've been doing some things with Baker folks and other folks, so I'll show you what it is, just to give you guys a rough idea. Um, so this one, you will find a tentative schedule, like what we are planning. So the first thing is like we were planning online workouts until the end of July, but my work is starting up, like basically started today, but due to like situations that were happening over the weekend, the offices were closed. And obviously like they are not asking everybody to join on the same day, but uh, they are welcoming everyone to come in like small groups, basically based on their department. So I will be starting to go into office, so my morning time will be like a little bit reduced due to commute and other things I need to get ready for. So I'll be stopping the online workouts June 11th. But obviously, like this site, at the end, like it's not at the top now; it's at the very bottom, and all the things are still present over there. If you need any guidance, so you can take a look at this. If you have any questions or things like that, you can always ask. I felt like it was good to have those virtual sessions, like especially like I had like 5 to 6 consistent folks joining, which probably helped them a little bit. I hope there were more people joining in, because motivation is a driving key for strength training most of the times. And but anyways, conflicts with the schedule also, there are other things, right? So that's one thing. um, and then you will see in the spreadsheet with the tentative schedule, like we already are done with most of it, like in the top section. Since we are on June 1st, we are doing this mental preparation, and after that you will see like some experience note trips which are planned. and these experience snow trips are like now posted on meetup.com. um, so if you go on to meetup.com, most of the people have already assigned themselves, and I think to quickly go over that, um, I made sure that everybody is getting one trip for the least, so that nobody's feeling like, hey, I didn't get any experience, except for the folks like doing the baker like next week, which was my bigger concern. But I was looking at everybody's fitness and they seem to be fine. Just that they don't have enough like extra snow scale, but you guys are doing like other mountains down the line, so you will be getting some kind of experience before that for sure. Where is that thing? Training spreadsheet. So if you can see this sheet now, I typically like this is where like I log everybody's like training things and all that stuff as well. Um, uh, and you see like I need to like still follow with like some of the folks which are in red, but you will see like everybody is getting something or the other, some other climbs. And June 6 and 7, I hoped we would be doing Camp Muir, but King County is applied for modified phase 1, which will allow us to go out as a group, and it will be starting like over this weekend, so which is great. So we will probably do other than the national park. So I don't want to go to Camp Muir, but we'll still get snow experience in Tiana Way. There's like Bean Peak and Earl Peak, to mimic the elevation gain. We will go to Bean Peak and we'll come down, play in the snow if we need to like get more practice in snow. But if we feel like we are confident on that and we seem like fit, we might go to Earl Peak, which is like 2.5 miles detour round trip, and it adds like 1700 feet of gain. So it's a pretty steep one, but it's a it's not a big deal. Like we can slowly progress at the mountaineer pace and then work our way up. um, it will be either 8.5 miles round trip with 3,500 feet of gain, or 11 miles round trip with 5,200 feet of gain. Either of those two things. Um, but expect a long day because it's a drive. Like we are meeting at 7 o'clock at Tinaway, and take the things from there. So you can find all the details on Meetup. I extend the description like very long. I created all the details and mentioned everything like what to bring, where to meet, and etc etc. So do make sure that you read that event description. um, for 13th of June, I'm hoping the Camp Muir will open up by then, and I'll be taking the folks, like these 5 folks, uh, over there to Camp Muir. And then people who are doing suction, they will get snow and scrambling experience both together combined by doing Mount Daniel. Um, and that will be that. For Rainier folks, there are few. I will not be leading July 18 and 19 trips. They will be to Camp Muir as a secondary experience. And then July 17th is when we are planning to do like ladder crossing practices in the park. So there are like 9 folks. So we will have to like divide into like 2 groups and like manage some practice, like going up the terrain and all that stuff. This will be like done with weighted packs and all. So that is the status. Right now trying to find like leads to do Camp Muir trips on 18th and 19th. And we will divide like either 2 groups on single day or 1 group on each day, so depending upon what it goes, what whenever the leads are available. So that's kind of the schedule going forward.
Hey,
um,
quick question, Kerry.
yeah,
There's no 8th, 9th on your spreadsheet.
no 8 9 because you're climbing on 8 and 9, right?
Oh,
This is
I thought 8,
experience.
9.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
My
earlier
bad.
we covered the climbs and
Okay.
we talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, question, Katie. So mine is 24, 25, 26 for Baker.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to join Camp Muir on, I guess, the week after, or do I do something else on my own?
I mean, yeah, I mean, like right now, I mean, based on RSVPs, this was the case, and I tried to make sure that nobody's like, everybody's getting one at least.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give priority to the folks who are doing 15 to 17 in this week. But there are like less people doing that, so there were spots available. So most of the people RSVP'd based on whenever they were available. But having said that, June 13th, I cannot guarantee the Camp Muir will open
Okay.
because they were planning to open it up in phase 2. And the modified phase 1 is a new thing that was created like last week because
Right.
our governor is not planning to extend a stay home order, which is allowing all the counties to apply for modified phase 1. Which will basically make us do some kind of recreation activities which were mentioned that to do in phase 2. So, and since governor is not extending stay home order, I mean, it will be approved and everybody's expecting, and he's also like saying like most of the things like will be fine, as long as every county has some kind of protocols. So I think that should be pretty straightforward to just get the paperwork done for the counties. At least get approval based on like with some comments on it, if not like approved as submitted, you know. um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, you can definitely, I'm not saying you cannot, but like June 13th, I already have a group of 6. I do not have 2
Okay.
leads. So if you can swap with somebody else, that would be great. Like June 6th, I have 2 leads, so I'm dividing that group into 2. But then June 7th and June 13th, I'm the only one leading that. So I want to keep the group size to like 6, um, not more than that. So
Got
that
it.
will be my concern for that.
It's okay. I'll do something else then on my own.
Yeah. And you will get
Okay.
plenty of snow experience as you would get on Camp Muir. So don't worry about that if you're worrying about that aspect of it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Um, so basically that's that. So where was I? So that's a schedule. And then I updated, obviously like gave some links on that same page, which gives you like fitness benchmarks, which I've been sending to Baker folks. But this is a good document that you can actually see. I guess like you're not seeing that right now. So let me go to that side. Maybe you are. Are you seeing a document, Word document? Yes, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
So this is a like I sent out emails only for Baker folks because they were doing the climbs this month. But down you will find like what is the benchmark that is good for suction. Like it since it involves like rock movements, like what is good to do and like when should be I should be ready with doing this kind of stuff. And things like that. Glacier Peak, it has like base fitness is like pretty much the same for all the mountains, but then there is endurance based on because it's a long distance stuff. And then Rainier as a different thing because it not only requires base fitness, endurance benchmark, but also like we want this to everyone to have like aerobic fitness to run when the time arrives, because of the climb being done in August. But you're here for Baker, so we'll just take a look at this document. Um, and then, oops, I should have gone backwards. Yeah. And then obviously like last Monday we had a fundraising Q&A or session. You can find the FAQs and the processes over here. I've only found one email to create a profile. It doesn't take much time for me to create a profile, but I was just waiting for like some for more folks to like give me some data so that I can create that. But obviously one thing I want to say about fundraising is like try to like target based on like COVID situation, which will drive more and which will probably help you to like get some funds and donations. There was a new email coming from Glenn to some of the folks. I don't know whether it was sent to all of you guys, but for the climbs going forward, since mountaineering boots are the ones like which are not being rented, tents are also a part of that, which are not cannot be rented this season because of COVID, and this might cause some kind of turmoil on your finance if you're like planning to like, oh, I didn't expect this to be like, oh, I need to buy this tent. But there are a couple of options that E gave, like which I think like a little bit cheaper, $250 to $300. And you can certainly look at this document, or he has sent an email which is like the same email. So you can take a look at the email or this document which is exactly the same, but you'll be able to like decide what. If you do not have tents, I think we have some small number of tents which can be done with proper protocols. Basically, that like if you can borrow a tent from one of the leads or something like that, and if you can wash it after your trip and like basically like wash it and like dry it and give it to us, and if you can give it to us like on Tuesday or Wednesday before we use it over the next weekend, that would be ideal, uh, because there's a 3-day gap that we can keep it isolated, and we can use it thereafter. But if that is not possible, then probably like it's best to like buy the tent. So but of course we do not have tents like 10 tents to like give you all of them. So but yeah, I can try my best to like find tents. But other than that, like also you are a single person, most of you will be tenting single person, so I do not have single person tents. All I have is like 2% tents, so that may not be helpful for you. So yeah. And then obviously like these are the climb dates that we already know. But yeah, so that's the update. The other thing I wanted to focus was, let's see, was go over a little bit about, let me open up one more. Yeah, go. I think you can, let me see if you can see this. Okay, so this will be already talked back in February, but I just wanted to remind this because this is a time like where people will be pushing a lot, and I've already seen one injury occur. I do not want many people to like get injured. So please, please, please take your time to like recover before you work out. And the idea, I would say, like the biggest thing that you want to work out is your aerobic base, and the more and longer you walk and things like that, that's more ideal rather than pushing harder. If you're doing Baker in like next 2-3 weeks, and if you want to like push harder while carrying weights, rather than doing that, you want to efficiently train so that you define like, okay, I need my pace to be improved, so let me work on my pace, but not carry weight at that time when you're doing that. But if you want to do endurance, like yeah, carry weight and go for a longer distance hike, those are the important things. The other things that I did talk a lot but I did not show you graphically in February is basically this process, like our body scientifically reacts to develop endurance based on like these two paths, either by putting some glucose or sugar into our body, which will generate pyruvates or lactates or ATPs. The ATPs are the ones which will give us like more energy to like just keep on walking. But the bigger the aerobic base we have, the easier it is to develop more ATPs and less lactates. If you happen to have this kind of system, you'll create more lactates in your body and you will get more fatigued and more, you need more breaks basically. So which is not ideal. So basically, and this is, and most of the workouts, most of the clients will be done under this threshold, aerobic threshold. So if you're not at that pace, let's say like we are climbing like 1,000 feet per hour, and if you cannot do that at under this pace, which means that you are going to go into other phases, and that is going to cause you get into like more fatigued muscles and things like that, right? And muscle fatigueness will also come into play when you are not able to do muscular endurance workouts, and that's why we added like strength training and did like big leg days or big just core days, and asked people to like just carry weights up the hill as steep as possible. So we were not thinking like, hey, go for like either mailbox or cable line, things like that on steep terrain. But if you wanted to do endurance, just like for long distance, it's better to walk slowly. The speed is not the concern over there, right? The idea is to like develop that kind of fitness in your uh, leg muscles so that you can keep repeating that. So I just wanted to touch that and provide you some kind of refresher from what we did in February, and you can see like the basically the components to get our training done. Like obviously we are done with duration, we spent our time, we did some variable intensity and eye work capacity like the strength training, and these break down into like 4 categories further. And we worked on our running, we worked on our aerobic endurance, which is like just by like walking longer or running longer distances. Strength training, I hope either you did strength training or went up steep terrain. Muscular endurance is where like going up steep terrain is what it is, but the strength training I know some of you have done with me, not everybody. And in order to like, if you're not doing strength training, you're doing hikes with weighted basically weighted backpack. That gives you a gradual progression, but that's cool as well. So do remember these parts and do remember to take rest. Doing like 4 hikes in a week is not a good solution. Okay, so having said all of that, I do want to ask you guys now what you want to get away from this session completely. Um, and then I'll talk about like those aspects, and then at the end we'll go over the route and talk about what is where and all that stuff. But before we go there, mentally, like what are the challenges that you are facing or what you want to talk about?
So this is Shruti here. I've got a question. And can you hear me?
Yeah. You just paused after you said, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. So like from your personal experience in climbs, have you ever like hit a scenario where you're like so exhausted, right? So you feel like you reached your limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is more ways to go, right, to the summit. So
Yeah.
that determination is there to get there, but you're hitting that extreme fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then mentally, when you thinking like, oh, this looks a little harder to reach, or that I might not be able to make it. What do you do to push yourself, and how do you balance out the thoughts and push
Yeah,
yourself?
I think I get your point, and I think I have something to talk about that. So that's good. Let me note it down so I don't forget about it. Any other things that people want to like talk throughout the meeting today?
Yeah, I think that same question basically, it's first day, let's say you go through that, and then next day you have to go to summit, and now the delayed onset of fatigue and soreness shows up, right? That's same, I think, similar question. But what do you do?
Yeah. So I mean, most of the climbing is not like strength. I mean, we pushed ourselves a lot and we do all of this workout, but if you are mentally not ready, we cannot really climb the mountain. So that's where like for me this weighs equally as same as like strength training in my regard. um, so we will definitely touch base on those aspects where our like during my first year of climbing, I was definitely maxed out. And I can talk about my experience and as well as some of the things that helped me. And I've noted down in this document as well, which I can share later on after the session, so that you don't have to go through the recording. You can just, glance through the 6-7 page document. I hope you can see that, I guess right now. But yeah, definitely we'll talk about it. Any other topics?
Katie, I have one question.
Yeah.
So like I already discussed with you also. So I never did like snow hikes also. And now with all this COVID, we are doing Camp Muir also 15 days before. In the snow skills, there was no ice as such. There was snow. So I don't have that ice experience as such. And maybe
Yeah.
going up is not scary, but coming down, there is a fear of, falling. And so how do
Yeah.
we deal with that?
Yeah,
Without
that is a little bit tricky since you're not able to gain experience and understand what it feels like. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Hey, Katie. So I had a question. We have never, like, I've never personally done a hike where we start at midnight or like at 1 or 2 o'clock in night. So
Okay.
I was wondering that whether that would be a problem.
Midnight starts. Okay. Anything else? Anybody has anything? I mean, you can obviously add more things down the line, but it's good to have me like have outlined like what I need to touch base primarily.
Also about getting
Sorry.
good sleep. What if you don't sleep well before the climb, and how do you deal with that?
Sleep concerns. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, if you're gonna talk about it, that's fine. But like the last 2 days, just before the climb, anything that we need to do or not do, that would be helpful.
Pre-climb routine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Madhvi, are you planning to talk? Your audio is like doing wavy thing, but alrighty. So okay. If nobody adds anything else, like I can talk about these things. I think the things about techniques, motivation to move forward, and getting fatigued, we'll cover in the first session of talking about mental preparation, and then talking about midnight starts, sleep concerns, and pre-climb routine. I probably will talk about like when we are like going over the route description and all that stuff. Hope that I mean, and if I don't answer your questions, feel free to like at the end or in between when I'm talking on that subject, just intervene, and then we can talk more about that. So some of these things are like pretty obvious, and we should know as adults already, that like even though like we train so hard, like if our mind is not into it, we cannot succeed well, or at least our experience will not going to be very successful, right? um, and what do we mean by success? But like before we go there, we want to define like what are experiences basically, right? Experiences are not basically just the outcomes that have submitted Baker, have submitted Rainier. The experiences are the ones that creates through art shapes on a mountain or any kind of trips, right? And that's what keeps you keeps attached to you all the way, and that is where we need to work on and experience. And this gives you a couple of things basically, that also tells you that if you think a little bit in the past or a little bit in the future, you are just going to overwhelm yourself and overthink and focus on the constraints. But the thing which is actually at present, you could either enjoy it, or if it's an hardship, you can like break it down into small goals and work on those small goals to make it much more fruitful, right? So break it down, technology works everywhere, like when you're teaching anything, or when you're even like going for an objective, right? And same thing, like when we were doing training, we broke it down into different aspects, like, hey, let's do strength training, let's work on our weighted uphill travel thing and things like that. So uh, breaking down technology works better, and we will talk a little bit more on that, how I typically break it down on a mountain, especially as a beginner, when what I used to do. And then you can see or look at some of the takeaways from there. uh, but um, before that, before all of that, everything should be, we talked about like some of these aspects, so I'm not going to talk about it, but this is pretty much important. And like personalities are like kind of like defined by like three components, like thoughts, bodies, and strength and weaknesses, basically. So like thoughts, body, basically thoughts are like basically like what you uh, what you think, and the body tells you like what you feel. And strength and weak, based on strength and weaknesses, you can act or not act, basically, or try to like break it down and understand how to act on it, right? So these are the three things, and you, if you keep them in loop, that works and very well. So if your thoughts are you, if you're like overwhelmed with your thoughts, for example, I always have my mom calling me, and then I miss out on Thursdays and Fridays to talk to her, and then if I don't talk to her on Friday, then it's like it's on my mind over the weekend, and I'm not concentrating on the mountain. So that takes away the big thing, right? And this is a small thing, but those things, like you need to like define yourself, like what should I do to make myself completely be present on a mountain. It could be work related stuff too, it could be your relations, it could be anything that is going on, right? It could be things like that happened over the weekend, which is allowing you to like not be present in the moment sometimes. So those are things that you want to like work on first. And this is one of the like pre-crime routines that I have, is where like I try to like take away all the conflicts and make sure that I don't have to think about anything else when I'm on the mountain, just about the mountain, right? uh, Body obviously gives you like a lot of feeling, what you're doing, whether it's working out for you, whether it's painful, whether it's hurting you, things like that. And hopefully things are like just being sore, and you're feeling that little bit of stress, but not like too much, and you're still like able to like enjoy. And most of the climbing on a mountain is done at a very slow pace, except going to the base camp and coming back to the cars. The pace that you even walked for your snow skills uh, is faster, I would say, when you're going from the base camp to the summit. So it's going to be pretty snail paced. But with that snail pace itself, since there's not much of mileage, you typically gain about like 750 to 900 feet per hour. And that is what we intend to do, like 1,000 feet per hour typically. But anything between 750 feet to like 1,000 feet is like win-win. It's not a bad deal at all. uh, so all you want to focus there is small things about like how can I, what is required for me to like reach this next person. Like every person is tied between the ropes, like, and it's like 10 meters roughly, and that 10 meters is like 30 feet. So if you want to take that 30 steps, or like uh, 20 steps, whatever that is, to get to that next person, that's what your objective is all the time. And that's one of my break it down tips that I can give away, that I always only look at that thing and keep doing it. And if I keep doing it for every hour, I know I'm going to take a break, I'm going to eat well, and understand like my body is not being overly feeling any hunger or tiredness. So that is what it is. And I, throughout like last 4 or 5 months, we all worked on few things, and we know our strengths a little bit, like, hey, I can push myself, this is like next sci for me, or next mailbox for me, or next cable line for me. You can always think about all those steps, like, hey, I have done this kind of elevation gain before, let me try it. It's a different condition, but I can go up this terrain as long as I get the techniques right. And for techniques, people will always come and talk to you, and always you can always talk to the guides at the breaks if you are not able to understand the techniques. But the guides will be able to like mention if there are any specific techniques that they prefer you to do. And otherwise, most of the biggest thing about the technique is like cramponing, that you guys are like more worried about because of there might be ice and it's not snow. And as you learned over there, like putting all points in contact with snow is preferred. And like there are all techniques derived based on that, basically. And if there are steps, or if it's like the ice is a little bit breakable, you do kick steps, which is basically what you did with your boots anyways. So it's kind of like with the crampons is the same thing. But when you're using crampons effectively, is when you're putting all the points in contact, right? And people are a little bit hesitant about those things because they have not walked in them, and they feel like, do I trust it or not? But within like 15 to 30 minutes, you will be able to trust it after getting some walking done on them on ice. So that's a personality, and like I want to keep that in your mind. And then obviously there are technical challenges as well, and most of the technical challenges, you can say, like, are strength driven as well. But if you're capable of doing it somewhere else, as I was talking about, like I can do cable line, right? But I cannot, let's say, like cable line is like almost 2000 feet of gain in like mile and a half. And then I'm doing this Roman wall on Baker, which is about like 1000 feet of gain, which is like it was steep as cable line. But it's not that bad. The only difference is now I know, like, it's less than cable line, I can push for it. The difference is now is the snow present rather than like being rocky and watery and muddy, right? And now I need to like focus on my technique and understand and fully trust my techniques. This is where it is important, right? The equipment is defined and is been tested to work in those techniques, right? All you have to do is understand those techniques well enough to execute that. Sometimes you do not have experience to gain before the trip or before doing that activity. So it is a slow process in the first 10 minutes or so, but eventually you will get the idea of using it. So obviously think about like those balances, point contacts, and things like that. And the more you do it much more efficiently, the better it will be. And you probably have learned about some of the footwork, like walking in balance is important. Without doing that, you unnecessarily wasting your body energy to like keep yourself in balance when you're not using that 1-2 ice axe technique, left foot, right foot ice axe, and things like that. And always have 2 points of contact. If you have only 1 point of contact, your always body's like kind of working a little bit more, right? So if you are more efficient in doing that, the better your energy is sustained, and you can use that later on down the line, right? The other thing I would like to say is you probably have learned this technique as well when you were doing snow skills, called as the rest step, which is very, very important. And this rest step is one of the techniques that you can use to uh, get the fatigue in the muscle a little bit down the line rather than like working like 45 minutes. So if you're like pushing yourself like constant uphill walk, you might get pretty much fatigued very frequently, or very soon rather. But if you are uh, want to walk for like hours and hours, this rest step helps you quite very good, because you are kind of relaxing the back leg all the way. so that the muscles are not engaged when you're like straightening up the back leg, and only the front leg is engaged. And you breathe in and breathe out, and then you take the next step, you breathe in and breathe out as well. um, so
Yeah, I think during uh, the snow training, I was asking Simon about the rest step, but he didn't really get it actually,
okay.
and he wasn't really able to explain very well. Because I thought maybe snow step, the rest step may be slightly different in the snow versus like in other places.
I've It is similar, but let me show you quickly in that case. Yeah, and do let me know if anything like that is the case, that you new to the term and I'm explaining it without any pictures. Uh, okay, so let's see if I'm able to share the YouTube. You guys can see that, right? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so look at this guy's footwork basically, and you will see like front leg is bent knee and the back leg is like straight basically. And he's using his front leg to lever and go up the hill basically. And you will see like there are two ways. Like one is like if you're using like kick stepping, your toes will be more engaged and it will stress your calves. But if the step is wider and longer, that you can rest your entire feet on it, please do that, because then you're not engaging your calves as much, but you're engaging your quads and hamstrings there. So if you want to balance out your muscle, like what muscle need to be worked, I'm feeling more stress in the calves, I can change my little bit footwork and try to find those like flatter regions to use my quads. But then there is no flat regions that I can place my crampon or shoe like flat on the ground, then I will be like, okay, then I can use my calves a little bit. So I'm like playing around these small things so that I don't get fatigued eventually so quickly as I wouldn't have noticed otherwise when I'm hiking just for training, right? And the front leg is the only leg which engages muscles. The back leg, it doesn't engage muscle because your hips are like standing on that back leg on top of it, and its entire weight is like transferred to the skeleton. So if you don't straighten your leg, if you bend it, then the muscles will get engaged. But if you straighten it out and rest the entire flat foot over here, again, if you're on toes, then your calves will get engaged. But if it's flat, then entire weight will go through the bones to the ground. And this is one of the ways where like this back leg is taking a break from working. And every time I take like this one step, I breathe in, breathe out, and move my back leg in front using the momentum from the front leg. And now the front leg will do what the back leg is doing. So it's resting every step I take, right? So you're reducing that cycle basically. So you probably will see. So does that make any sense? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what it is. So there are
Yeah,
some
it makes
time.
sense. Thanks.
Okay, so these are the things that small things that help you down the line, and you want to focus more on the techniques and work on them rather than like just going brute force. Because going by brute force, you may be able to do it, but it's not the most enjoyable experience if you're not fit or if you cannot sustain that much of load in your muscles. Um, and then of course we did a lot of like other things, core conditioning, flexibility. Core conditioning is required because we always stand tall on the mountains when we are going up, even on the like cable line kind of a situation on a snowy terrain. While coming down is where people are mostly scared. But it's when you learn how to like engage your points in, it feels weird to like stand tall on that steep terrain. But like once you are able to do that because you worked on your core, you'll be fine because you can sustain that load, right? So and then it becomes more of a technique because you already worked on your core. Flexibility is a very big thing, because you might have seen like when you're walking in balance, uh, on soft snow it might be easier because you're making a wider trail. On a mountain where the snow is a little bit sometimes harder, the traverses that you do may not be completely like a wider path, like 2 feet. You cannot play like 2 feet side by side, so you could probably is like, kind of cat walking, and with an ice axe, so it becomes like a little bit more like flexible and like need to work on your balance. And that's where like walking in balance is much more helpful when you're doing it. And following that technique is gives you like more what do you call, body weight transfer on your legs, like vertically rather than like on the sideways and swings. And you're not engaging your like side calves or shins to get hurt or get fatigued. So that flexibility gives you that some kind of basically twisting your ankles and when you're doing your traverses, basically, right? The way you kick step it. And even though there are techniques that you have learned how to kick step and make steps to walk up and down and traversing, um, typically I've seen uh, on popular trails like such as Baker, Rainier, or Suction, the trail is present. Present as in like people have been walking up and down on that route, and you can see the boot path. And you might be just varying from the boot path if it is like a little bit not so good to walk on it. But if it's good to walk on it, you probably will be on it, um, just to reduce your, again, save energy and conserve that rather than kick stepping it. Use the already created steps and go up. And one thing I would say, like if you are creating those steps, you might have also seen the snow skills that the shorter steps you create, the better it is to walk. The longer steps you create or take a longer stride on snow, you engage your calves quite a bit, and you're a little bit off balance, you're putting more weight on your muscles. So the shorter steps you take, it's much more easier, chilled out walk. You will be required to make more steps, obviously, but you can obviously like, for you, I mean, it doesn't make much difference because the guides will be making the steps. But if you happen to like come down, and you want to plunge step, you can use the soft snow to plunge step, or if you're icy, you can like use crampon techniques. But if you are the one in lead, which is not going to be the case while going up, um, but if that is the case, then we can talk a little bit later, but like it's not going to happen, so yeah, let's not talk about it. Then recovery between the climbs and days of climbing. So this was one of the concerns as well that you guys pointed out. uh, how, like, if I'm fatigued, like how can I push myself, right? So basically it goes back to like the chart or two processes that I showed you how our body works, and trusting that system, because it is science that we will be able to work, right? The one thing is like if you're not breathing heavily, our we are within our aerobic threshold, which is like, okay, we can do things and be actively present in that moment, right? The second thing is anaerobic phase, where you will be engaging your more stuff, like where you will need like sugar intake so that you create more energy in your body so that it can propel you down the line, right? And this is where during the last session also I talked about like being proactive and like eating and drinking stuff, um, to keep you engaged. And for the first year, like when I did my Rainier climb, I remember like every hour, I used to feel like I'm feeling shitty at the minute, like at minute 45 to minute 60. But when the time the break came and I ate something, I was good for another 45 minutes to an hour. And again, the same thing happened. So I kind of kept on like doing it. And rather than thinking of it like as a drawback for me or weakness, I was thinking like, hey, I feel a little bit good about it. Like I need to just make sure that I have enough energy in my body through other mediums, and just keep on walking, and keep doing that, and then you'll get to the top and you'll be able to push yourself. See, same as like strength training. Like sometimes we do repetitions of like 30, 35 on one of the sets, and then some people are like, okay, I'm not be able to do like beyond 20. So you take like couple of seconds break and you continue doing that, right? So similarly like that, like instead of taking a break, you actually like at that break, you're also eating something so that it creates energy. And this is where I'll talk about like what kind of food is helpful to give you instant energy versus some kind of food. I think we talked about it like last time as well, but we can see what questions you have and then discuss that when the time arrives. So those are things that I pretty much do, and those are things like are primarily the main focus when you're like thinking about what needs to be done on a mountain, right? um, and remember, like all these things discussed, which means like you have to mentally think about each and every step of the way practically, like basically like climb the mountain mentally in your mind, uh, with all the references that you can gather through YouTube, through photos, through satellite images, through everything, right? Mileage, slopes, what people have done, what people have, things like that. Like gather all that information and process it. And that helps you to create like, hey, I can do this, I can do this, or maybe I should work on this. Okay, how should I work on this? And what is the technique used, right? And even if you're not able to practice that enough, you will be able to like I think like these are basic climbs and like popular climbs, pretty shorter as well. So you will be able to like get the understanding of the new technique within like 5 to 10 minutes, uh, as long as you're not tired and aerobically performing well. If you're tired and breathing heavy, your mind is not present, you will not think about that technique, and this will create like a big chain reaction, which will down the line will create all the downfalls that you do not want. You will be still be able to make sometimes you will be able to like get to the summit, but it might not be the fruitful experience that you would want on a mountain. After that, I talked a little bit about like a breaking it down technology that I typically use, and this is where like setting goals and taking actions and making course corrections is pretty important. So for example, like I did set up a goal like grow from like this place to the place that a guy is standing in front of me, who is attached to my rope, right? And when I get there, I learned something about myself, that this worked for me, this worked for me for this terrain, and if the terrain is the same, I can improve that. If I'm not making corrections, then I'm just making a mistake, and then I'm worsening or fatiguing my muscles or getting more tired. So the more you work on your techniques, the better it is, and the more you can correct yourself, right? My front pointing was good, my all the points on the ground was good. Focus on those small things, uh, and experience that. For example, you guys learned about self-arresting, right? uh, it is very difficult task. I don't know, like most of the times in the first session you will not be able to do like all the 4 positions to fall, and also like your ISACs on the right side, ISACs on the left side, right? It's very difficult to go through all of them. Did you guys go through this like looking up the sky but your head is sliding down the first? Did you guys do that?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, it is the most difficult one, right? Or what was the experience?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, and then like how Glenn was able to do it, like he could stop instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like I was sliding down for a while, and then I was able to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like most of the times like that is the difficult one because you cannot see it, and then when you try to like poke the pick of the ice axe into the snow, you are like also worrying like where to poke because it doesn't should not poke you. And when you poke it, most of the times I see like the force is not enough for people to poke in, and then you kind of slide. And the other technique I've also seen for the folks is like they don't point the pick of the ice axe in the right direction to put into the snow, and because of that the ice axe slides on the snow. So it's pretty like no matter what the weight of the person is or whatever that is or whatever the arm strength is, uh, pick makes an anchor, right? And depending on obviously the snow conditions, you may slide a little bit or you may not slide a little bit. But those are the small techniques that on the first session is very tough to gather. But also once you think about those techniques, small things, then you will be able to like, okay, I just need to fight for my life, and then this is what I need to do, and like let me think about that technique and focus on that. And whenever you're walking, you're always thinking like, at least on my first climb, I was always thinking like, if I slip, like, oh, my eyesight is on my right side, so I should be like, I need to go in this fashion, right? And where is my self-arrest grip and all that stuff. So I always used to
How
think,
how often did you have to use this
I didn't use it at
self-arrest
all.
thing?
So in my last 4 to 5 years, I think I practice a lot more than use it. I did use it three three to four times though in the last 4 years. But that was like not when climbing. That was like just by playing around, and just slipping while playing around.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Glissading.
Well, glissading is fun, but you won't be able to do that on a mountain. Did you guys
Okay.
get a big talk on glissading?
We did some glissading, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Glissading is fun on snowfields. Glaciers, it's not great. Um, yeah, because you don't know where the crevasses are typically and where the fall line goes and all that stuff. But anyways, that's a
Right.
different topic. Uh, so yeah, so that is one of the things, like this helps a lot if the small goal of me going to the person is too much for me. Let's, for example, I'm on a very steep terrain. I'm not going to do that as my goal. I'm gonna do the goal of like, I cannot see this person, I'm going up this terrain, I can see the boot path though. Okay, so let me take like 3-4 steps, and if 3-4 step is my best thing that I can do for my goal, I work on that and then re-look up and then do it all over again, right? So yeah, as small as possible. And the more focus you do on like those small goals, you enjoy your mountain. Obviously you should also look around and things like that, but most of the climb is done like by like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock till like 5 o'clock. It's a little bit in dark, but at 4:30 or so you start to see like, some lights in the horizon, and you start to explore most of the terrain. uh, and both things are fun. So enjoying like your small goals, having fun with that, and able to like correct yourself and like feeling more confident every time you do that, and then also enjoying the place gives you a lot of confidence going up and down. So any kind of muscle fatigueness is not going to overrule your mind because you're mentally so positive about it, if that make any sense. um, there are a couple of things. It's okay for me to like not talk because I think everybody understands that ego and arrogance doesn't help anybody on to do anything basically. But yeah, so um, after that I do wanted to this is the food stuff. um, so you can see that glycogen, like high glycogen index foods and low to moderate index foods. um, and this is when like I would say, if you are going on a climb, what type of food is good when you're hiking versus what type of food is good when you're taking a longer break or a overnight break, or you're at home. Basically most of the times, like when we are not doing anything, like we prefer the right side because the glycogen content is less, you're not working out. But if you want instant energies, the left side column is the one which will give you most instant energies. um, you know and some of this you might have already witnessed because you might have tried some of them. Some of them are lightweight, some of them are a little bit heavy, some of them are spacious, some of them don't have, need much space. So you have to decide which is better for you, which is good for you. And these kind of food which eventually helps you to increase, to work on that, muscle endurance. Basically use that muscle a little bit longer and longer every hour. I keep on doing that, I get better. Power bars are no longer available, I think. But obviously I've actually had like soft drink one time. I typically have bagels most of the times, potatoes definitely. And one thing I would like to say is like, and every time you drink water, I have a habit of like eating something, whether it's a snack or salty food or anything that I can munch on. I do want to eat because there's a thing called as hyponathermia where you drink too much of water and you dilute all the salt content in your body, and which is not good as well. So it kind of feels like dehydration, but it is on the opposite spectrum. So, which is not good. So, being again proactive and drinking more. If you have to go to pee, that's totally fine. Nobody is going to, push you for that, right? But obviously, the other thing is like, you know, the goose shots are the one thing, they're like sport drinks kind of stuff, like the pace things. If you have not seen that, you can pretty much search for a goose shot, GUSHOT. You will be able to see that. Then you will also see like chews or short blocks, which come in flavors and have some kind of good energy. And each of the packages, most of them, are close to 200 calories. And every break I take, I eat that first, the entire thing, 200 calories every hour. Because sometimes we might push for more than an hour, or sometimes even if I don't need to eat the entire thing, I have the extra energy. So if I next break, if I feel like I didn't use it, I can eat less or something like that. But I have an habit of like, from the base camp going to the summit, eating 200 calories every hour, so that I feel like completely energized and being present. I don't want to be deprived of any kind of energy that body is requiring, and I'm like fighting for it all the time. Obviously, the right side is not that great. You can see like oatmeals, you can probably carry it for morning or evening stuff, but it's totally fine. I've had pasta and pizza for dinner. That's good as well, because you're not working out, you're trying to get recovered. You can eat a lot of that, and like it is a little bit heavier, but totally fine. um, Beans, bananas are heavy, spacious. Fruits, they are more nutrient than glycogen driven, and they are heavy and a lot of space for the content that they provide. So it's not ideal. And then obviously milk, yogurt, veggies are not that great. Peanuts, by itself is like less glycogen, but they give you a ton of energy. Like if you take it as like peanut bar or peanut gel, and yeah, so those things are pretty good as well. So peanut, but you do need like to drink water or something on the like um alongside. And the other thing I was talking about, like being positive mind, is pretty important. And anything you can think about like negative or drawbacks to yourself, convert that to anything positive that you can do. Try practicing that, and you will see like you, instead of like not doing it, you start working on it, if not completing it. So that helps quite a bit. So yeah, I think most of it is that. And I wanted to go over the route stuff, and let me see if I've covered your questions. Maximum fatigue, motivation, experience and technique. Experience and technique is a little bit different. I think like what you can do right now is watch some YouTube videos, and if you don't come across some kind of things that you can break down into like very small things that will explain you why this works, then feel free to ask me, and then I can find some video that explains it, or I can talk to you over the phone and explain that, because like that helps you to like understand like, hey, this works because of this, so then you trust it, and then you can more focus on that, and you just do it basically, right? Rather than like thinking about like, I don't know whether it works or not. They all wanted me to like put all the 10 points of crampons, pointy things on snow. I don't know whether it works or not. Obviously all the spikes should be in contact and get a little bit dug into the snow. That's how the thing works. That's how it the friction derives, right? So though that is easy to understand, some of the things are not that easy to understand, so you can always ask. For example, I will give you the thing which is not easy to understand is kick stepping. When you kick step going up the slope, you can kick step it in this direction, but you will learn that the more you kick step perpendicular to the snow slope, uh, it is much more easier when you put a feet on top of that step to actually have a proper rest step and have the entire back leg rested. But if you're like tilted parallel to the slope, or like close to the parallel to the slope, not perpendicular, then you are kind of like rotating your ankle and engaging your calves quite a bit, which is straining your calves rather than resting it when you want it to. So that's one thing that helps you to understand, like, hey, this thing helps, and why is that? Okay, let me see that and look.
So your feet when you're engaged, be perpendicular to the slope of the ice.
Yeah, yeah. But if it is like,
Okay.
if there is a step, then yes. If there is no step, then you will be engaging your calf, because uh, in order to so in order to actually work, um, you will have to have like all points of crampons in contact, right? Then it's more like more friction if it's icy. But if it is like diggable or kick steppable, then you will kick step it. But then that kick step, if you put your feet perpendicular to snow or like close to it, then you'll feel much more better about it. So yeah, and then those were the things: midnight start, sleep concerns, and pre-climb routine. I can talk about it when I'm doing pre-climb rehearsal and climb rehearsal or physical simulation, but I'm open to any questions as of now.
Katie, do we have to do any like diet changes for the climb and being vegetarian? Is there anything like that, or it's fine?
I think it's totally fine. I think people from every diet have been able to sustain on a mountain. There are lots of different foods that are available both in vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and whatever you want to eat. Gluten free or whatever. Yeah.
No, I'm not
What's your
asking
most
about the.
favorite food?
But it was not about the food. Sorry.
No, sorry. I'm asking about the before time, like next 1 month.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat that?
Before the actual climb, like during this next
Oh, I
2
see.
weeks or anything, do we need to do anything like more protein or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I mean, like typically like a month before or something like that won't affect much, because I think you just need to take your daily needs into consideration every day, and have like about like 1500 to 2000 calories if you're spending that much and things like that. But definitely closer to the climbing dates, it's much more important to not only sleep but have some kind of like, you can do your pre-carb load if you are interested in that. I do enjoy that in the morning of the climbing or a trip, where I eat a lot of stuff in the morning, like an hour before, an hour and a half before, or while on a drive, and then I have that energy in my body. You can do that the night before as well, and that's good enough. But the sleep is more important than that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments on whatever we discussed so far? If not, questions.
So for water, we need to get the water filter or like some sort of water treatment tablets, right?
Yeah, the tablets, they take 30 minutes to purify it, and then after 30
Oh, okay.
minutes, if you need to like take care of the iodine and don't want to taste your water like iodine, then you have like another type of different tablets, that PS tablets that you add to water, which it takes another 10 minutes. So you're thinking about like 40 minutes wait for it to purify for from the tablets. So you can certainly use it. Um, but yeah, that's one thing. I like filters like either hand pumps. You can do hand pumps, and that's totally fine. But it's like one thing accessory like with, and it's a lot of weight. So I enjoy it when I am at the campsite and I know that I have to do a lot of water and I have containers for it. But if I don't have like lot of bottles or things like that to fill, and everybody has some kind of filter system that they can use every now and then, and also store water in that, that would be the ideal situation in my book. Yeah.
Hey KD, the beef free filter, is it pretty good? Does it work good?
Yeah, it has worked for me like for 2 years for sure. And I've used hand pumps, I've used gravity filter too. There are pros and cons on everything. If I'm filtering for a group of people, then I would take gravity filter into consideration. If I am melting snow, um, then I might also consider a hand pump, but you're not doing either of those things for yourself. Those two are like very beneficial, very, very beneficial in those two regards, especially on a mountaineering trip. But since you won't be participating in that, I mean, like, you can think about other things. And Be Free, I found it like good for like any individual use other than storing hot water. But yeah. All right. Give me a thumbs up if this information was useful, and then I will try to open up some of the tabs so that we can talk about our route basically. Oops. Let me see, where is that Baker? Right. So you can also do it as what you're seeing on my screen right now. Um, you know, Eastern Glacier. It's probably not that, so I probably need to make my own trip. Okay. Mount Baker. So I do know this is where I start, and I can actually basically well, there's an entire route for us. We can do whatever we want. Okay. Oops, I did a mistake. Yeah, there it is. All right. So let's talk about this, right? I wanted to save this and then export it basically because I don't have a track. And then I can upload it on Google Earth, Fat Maps, and things like that so that you have a visual representation. And basically you're doing this Coleman-Deming route to give you a rough idea. So let me put this into perspective for you guys who don't know. So you will see this small town somewhere over here on the highway called as Glacier over here. And from the Glacier, you drive on this Forest Service road, getting back to this. This road is a little bit like, as potholes and all that stuff. So, but then you come to this trailhead called as Heliotrope Ridge. trailhead.
We see like okay, now we see. I think it's a little bit delayed. So
Oh, I see. Okay. And then from this trailhead, obviously the green represents the forested or tree area in this map. And you can see like the first, I'll just point out, you can see the dot moving along the trail. And you can see the gradient as well. It's so pretty much flat. It's not much at all. Um, you know, and this is where you are pretty much on the trail, and then you're coming on the ridge line. And once you're on the ridge line at elevation about 55 5600, that's where you lose trees behind you basically. And once you lose trees, you obviously are in the snow or rocky area or something like that. And this area is a little bit like, if it's not snow, then it's like a rocky area. And this is where you guys camp at around like 5800 or 6000 in this range. So that's the campsite where the water sources are available next to you. It's mostly dries most of the times. But even if there's snow, it's like much more flatter terrain. So as you can see, like 5800 minus your 3600, that is the gain you do on first day, right? And you're only hiking like 3 miles, 2.9 miles, you know, and it's not much, to be frank. So everybody can do it because you guys have done more than this, at least on day one, right? And this is not as strenuous as what you have worked already, like by doing mailbox or cable line or Sai with 40 pounds or 35 pounds. And then this is where you'll start like roping up for the summit bid. And for summit bid from 5800, you start walking up on this snow field, and depending upon the snow conditions and crevasses, you can choose whatever path. And this path is not accurate, and do not rely on this path when you're walking on glaciers, because glaciers tend to have crevasses and they change from time to time. It is very important to like have a vision and understanding where the crevasses are forming in order to avoid it. And this changes every time. It is never this time all the way. Like you're in the vicinity of it, from this point to like this point, but obviously not very easy to like just follow the tracks. You will be 100% off the track, I can guarantee that. And then you basically, it's pretty flat still, like you don't see much terrain over here, and you will see like crevasses and things like that on your left side when you're walking up basically, right? And you go up and you will see like you're starting from 5800. This is where the biggest elevation changes on your summit date. So this is where your actual training will come into effect. But you're not carrying 40 pounds, 30 pounds, you're only carrying like 15 pounds. You know, so we can go with a little bit gear if you would like that, but you do not need anything more than that. I have carried less than that, 15 pounds as well. uh, you know, it depends upon what you need and what the weather conditions are again. But 5800, you start hiking and you go all the way. And these are pretty good features. Like this entire ridgeline is super awesome, snow capped, rocks exposed, super awesome place, crevasses on the left side. You are like, and typically if you think like it takes 1000 feet per hour, you start at 58, and to get to this spot it is like 78, so like 2 hours, right? So by this time you should see some sunrises and things like that, or some light in the sky. And then you climb up all the way to this one, and you can see like over here you're pretty much crossing some crevasses, but these crevasses some most of the time is early season not present as bad as this. You know, these are like pretty bad crevasses which are in the late season, so you'll not be in this kind of format. Which you will, if there is a good satellite image for June or May, we'll be able to see like there are much less crevasses on the way. But you will see that at night you will not be able to notice any crevasses, or they're very tiny if you even if you notice. But while coming down they will get wider and wider, and you'll be like, oh, I don't think I've crossed this, but you probably did. And that is because the sun is acting on the snow, and glaciers are moving apart due to heat. And that's also one of the reasons where you want to try early night or early morning summit bid attempt. Uh, that's the another reason, along with snow conditions being much more firmer and nicer to walk on. If it is sloppy while coming down, if you're like ankle deep or calf deep or knee deep, that's probably too late and we push too much to get you to the summit, uh, because that's not efficient way of walking and we do not want to get there. So we avoid that by going at night when the snow is much more firmer. But once there's like a nice, there's always like, there's I think like one or two crevasses over here typically of small size, and there's a snow bridge that you will be walking on. And if that is delicate, they will protect it, and you will learn how to use your rope to pass through the pickets when you have a rest day. And you will pretty much use that technique to go by that stage. And then once you're over here, most people like rest at this spot, which is like basically the base of the Roman wall. This is the entire Roman wall. And this Roman wall, you can see like it is from roughly 9,000 to 10,400, right? So it's about like easily 1,400 feet of gain. But most of the steep is like first 1,000 feet, and then the top portion is just like a little bit flatter, and then towards the end it gets a little bit steeper, and then you're on a football field. So this is the most trickiest part, or this is the most strenuous part that people typically find, is this one. So that's why people take a lot of break over here, get ready, layered up, eat food, drink water, whatever is needed, because this 1,400 feet sometimes may take hour and a half, so which is not a typical hour walk, right? So you walk up this entire thing, and this terrain, if you want to understand how much slope it is based on degrees. So over here, you can see the orange ones are like 30 degrees. The red one is 45 degrees, and the purple one is like 50 degrees, and blue one is like 60 degrees, right? So the walk is still like less than that, but you can see like some of them are yellow and oranges. So basically you're like 30-degree slopes, right? Like half of it is like 30-degree slopes. At the top, as I said, like before you get to the football field, you're on a steeper slope. That's around like 40 degrees or something. So that's a slope you're working with in order to understand how it looks, or like what kind of angle that you're walking on. So you can think about it. But then after you reach over here, you try to like depending upon the weather conditions, if it's too windy or something, you try to like find some kind of like a wall to stand behind and get some break, and eat and drink water. If not, you can just enjoy the sun, and there's no wind, you can just pretty much rest anywhere, and then and take a break over here, because you have done hour and a half of hard work. And then from here, it's like an easy walk to the summit. Basically, it's a football field. It's as flat as it's very flat, and like you don't even have to think about like, oh, there is a climb to do. It's just like small walk on the road to get there. But obviously if you go towards the left, there are crevasses, so you want to stick towards the center of the football field, but guides will take care of that. Most of the times you are like, you take out your ropes over here and then walk freely without ropes, and get to the summit. But it depends upon like what guide feels based on the conditions shown throughout the climb. So this is what like it looks like, and you get to the summit, you enjoy, take photos, and then come back to your rest stop where you took out your ropes, or did your unlock your carabiners, and you put it back onto your harness, and then you start walking down. This is where the cramponing technique is much more useful if you have icy snow. And this is where some of the techniques I will tell you, if you have not, since you have not practiced cramponing, is not only the French technique of putting all the points in, but also the duck walk. Going down the slope is pretty much important. Duck walk is pretty much like, instead of legs like this, your legs are like this, and they are on the snow like that. And your knees are a little bit bent so that your backbone is always straight. Otherwise, you will like fall like this, right? Because if you're like straightening your legs, so you will be like perpendicular to the slope. think about like 40-degree slope and you're perpendicular to it, it's not ideal. So you bend your knees so that your backbone is vertical 90 degrees always. So that way it feels a bit weird in the first section, but then after that you'll be fine. And that is only when the conditions are icy. But most of the times, like there's a boot path, you will see like some steps in between that you can like step on it and you will be like fine. And if you think like the steps are too far, you can use your arrest. Like, you thought about like when you're climbing down as a plant step, you put your ice axe on the back, right? And you plant it, right? And then you get some grip on there and you take a next step and keep doing that. So those are the small techniques, and the guides will take it pretty slowly. uh, Although I would say like it's very important to understand in this to work as a group as in like your rope team. It is important because if you move faster, you're going to pull somebody or push somebody, and neither of those two things will be good if you are the one who is going to see that feeling right from the rope. So obviously keep that in mind and be cognizant about other people at whatever the pace they are going. Some people will be like, oh, this is steep, I'll just run down it, which is not a good situation to do. But some people will be motivated to do that just because they're scared of the steepness. But think about like being calm and like being focusing on your steps rather than like how steep it is and things like that. Focus down on your feet and take it step by step. When you find nice steps, you can actually stand tall, take a nice 2-3 breaths over there, and then continue walking. It's totally fine. um, and then once you come back down, you take a break again and you pretty much like plunge step all the way down to the base camp. Like sometimes you run, like run as in like fast walk, uh, and which I've done. And then if it's the same day that you're going back down, then come back, enjoy your food, pack your stuff, and then start walking back down. And it's again like 3 miles, 2,000 feet to lose. That's like the most enjoyable walk you probably will have because you have submitted everything. And to give you an idea, like this trail, if you see, if I take out the color coding, you'll see like there's this stream, there is this stream, okay? Then there is typically there's a stream over here from the glacier that goes out. So there are like 3 streams that are already there along your route in the first 3 miles, you know, which you can pretty much use to like filter water and drink from. Don't rely on the last one because it's from the snow, and since it is June, it's mostly there. But that's like close to base camp anyways, so you can definitely rely on the first 2. And think of it as like, okay, midway I will have 1 and then 1, so mile and a half. How much water do you need for mile and a half? Just carry that and you filter your water. You reduce like 6-7 pounds over there if you imagine it, if you know your body correctly. So that's kind of like an overview of the route on the map. But let me export this onto Google Earth and Fat Map. Let's do first on Fat Map and see how Fat Map looks. I'll wait for a moment until it renders, and also somebody said like there was a lag, so I'll wait for some more time. Okay. So can you guys see something much little bit clear?
Yep.
Okay, cool, awesome. So as we said, like this is a trailhead, right? And from this trailhead, as you can see, like you walk this trail, you come across some of the streams over here, right? And you walk up and you walk on this ridge. And as you walk on this ridge, you can see, the crevasses on the left typically. These are actually seracs. these are called as Coleman Seracs. And they, while going up, they will be on your left side, and those are like awe-inspiring things like to look at on a mountain as well. Like you will see like so big cracks and like big ice blocks of snow. It's pretty awesome. And then pretty much this is where your flat ground is to camp in this area. And this is where like 58 or 6,000 feet elevation is here. And after over here, you can pretty much see this is kind of like, I cannot change the time of the year to show the snow conditions. So I can probably do that on Google Earth. So we'll see if we can find May or June path so that we can understand how the snow looks typically in May and June, if there's a satellite image stored in that Google Earth for that month. So, but anyway, but you can see this path going up. Typically, I've done the right path rather than the left path, if I think it more. But you can think about like the conditions. Guide will be able to take you over there. But now you can see that actually, like when you're climbing on the left side, all these impressive crevasses on the left on these walls. Where you're not walking are very impressive. They're like tiny crevasses that you will cross typically, but you will not even notice when you're climbing because they're so tiny. These are the ones which I was talking in the right ridge, the Heliotrope ridge, as like super awesome peaks that you can think of. And this Colfax Peaks is done like as a winter climb, day trip, ice climbing. So pretty awesome. And then this is where I was talking about base of the Roman wall. This is the Roman wall on the left going towards the summit. And this is the saddle where you see the base of the Roman wall basically. And this is where the last stretch of couple of crevasses are typically present and snow bridge to walk across in the early season. While coming down, sometimes you have to like just like take a big step to cross that crevasse. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that, and you will see this nice, awesome features. And then this is where the base is, and then you can pretty much see how steep this terrain is, like going to the top of the Roman wall, the 1400 feet of gain, right? But it's not a big deal. You guys have done it, so see the steepness on the side. This is how it looks. And yeah, you can see like it's pretty much like 30 to 35 degrees, and at the end is like 40 degrees or so, which matches what we were seeing the color coding, right? And then yeah, at the top you can see it's so flat. And this is where the actual summit is. This is where like you reach the top of the football field, or like reach the football field basically, and that's where the summit is. So this is how it looks, and this is the basic and popular route. I've also done this route coming from this side and summiting it. This has like super awesome views of crater over here. This is a crater. You might smell some sulfur at the summit or going up on the Roman wall, because there are like sulfur fumes along the side, along the rim of the crater over here. I've climbed this peak over here, Sherman Peak, which is awesome. Yeah, so I've done these two routes, and yeah, so that's where it is. And then you will see like so much. If the sky is clear, you will see so many mountains. The Mount Suction is right over here. Right from the summit, you will be able to see Mount Suction, for sure, if not anything else. So yeah, so that is how it looks on Fat Map, to give you some idea of like how the mountain is, what the route you're taking and things like that, where the trees are, where the snow starts, or where the rocks or typical crevasses are. Let's see what Earth provides us.
Kerry, you'll share this link, how to look at this pictures?
Right now it's on recording, but
Okay.
I can, let's see, am I recording actually? Yeah, I think, I don't know. I might be recording, I don't know. But yeah, I think I can share it. It's fine. Let me see, where did I store it? And this is how I plan my trips as well, to understand where the snows are, where the rock is, and all that stuff. It's pretty important and pretty nice to like understand what to expect and create my own beta basically. Yeah, so this is the same route. You can see it's so much similar, right? And there's this like time lapse over here, and this is the one in June of 2020. So that's good. Let me see if I can find something from last year's. Let's look at, yeah, July of 2016. So that is what they have. So this is a snow condition or satellite image based on July 2016. So yeah, same thing again, you know. Uh, Sometimes you cannot understand, like there are more creeks and more stuff over here, obviously, but you cannot see it on satellite images that well.
AD,
Yeah.
we are still seeing the fat map on your screen and
Oh,
not
I
seeing
see.
any
I
Google.
may have to like reshare it. There it is. Okay, awesome. Now you can see the Google Earth, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So this is what I changed. You can see at the bottom, like it's a July 28, 2016, right? And yeah, so this is how it looks. And you can also see like what people have taken photos, the creek over there, things like that, more information that you can gather, uh, you know. And all the photos are not of that place, but taken from that place. This is what I was talking about, looking at the seracs. These are the huge ice blocks on a mountain at the base of the glacier, base of the Coleman Glacier, which is very impressive to look at it. Especially if you have not seen any glaciers before, it's super awesome. Um, so yeah, same path, same trick, same everything. More data to look at over here, understanding wise. This is where the flat region is for the camps again. And then again you go up this and you can pretty much see why this is the track, because it avoids most of the typically created crevasses, because most of the crevasses typically form in the same area. But having said that, last year, mid-July, this route was no longer doable because the crevasses which I was talking over here, that sometimes you need to take a big step coming down, that snow bridge collapsed. And because of that, there was no way to like take a step up the slope. You can, coming down, you can jump over it, but going up, there was no way to do that. So this route was completely done. That's why we are doing uh, this route all in June this year. If it was in July, we would have done like other routes to the Baker, which is a little bit longer and time consuming as well, and more endurance driven. This is the shortest and much more popular route on Baker, and it's a good step to do step into mountaineering. But yeah, this is again July. You will see most of these crevasses are pretty much not seen, but those are some. You feel free to like explore stuff and see how things look, and it's pretty awesome to look like how things will look, have a mental picture of the entire thing. And then you will also see like this mountain. Sometimes you will not actually see the true darkness, because you can actually see the nearby town glacier from the base camp, and which has like street lights on. So it's pretty weird and different in that aspect. But then this is where the Roman wall is. As you can see, so you can see some rock sometimes, but like pretty much are like walking on the side of the ridge. Mostly it is snow covered. Um, and we get to the top, and coming down, this is why people feel scary, because you see crevasses on both the sides and you're walking in this middle, right? But if you trust your boot steps and if you trust your crampons, you'll be good. Take it slow, step by step, work on that technique as we were talking about. And this is that crater where the fumes come from, and this is that Sherman Peak. But yeah, so this is how the route looks like. And typically, I think I talked about this, but I'm not sure, so I'm gonna say that again, I guess. Um, Typically, on a given day, you meet at a particular time, right? You drive to Glacier City, which is somewhere over here on this road, and which is Glacier Town. And you get your permits over there, basically, which is like just first come first serve, get the permits as you would get for Mount Adams if you have done that. But basically, you write your names and guides will take care of that, write everybody's name and get permit for that. And then from there you drive to this trailhead, and this trailhead is pretty popular. And people because people sometimes only hike to this spot over here and to take a look at the glacier and go back. So you will be don't be surprised if you see like families and kids on this trail. So it is pretty common to have them on these trails because it's a very pretty mountain, especially when the weather is good. So you might see more cars, but not all of them are actually climbing the mountain, right? Um, and given the COVID situation, there might be cars lined up over here, so you might have to park your car somewhere down the road, and then you have to walk whatever that distance is to get to the trailhead. Um, it's pretty nice trailhead, although this trailhead as restrooms, they won't be open. But yeah, and then this is the first bridge crossing within like 10 minutes of your walk. And then after that, mile and a half takes about like an hour or something for people, um, like with heavy packs. And you get to a stream. You can have a lunch sometimes over there, or early breakfast, whatever, depending on what time it is, and filter your water, and then basically climb again. And there's a junction over here. I think it's somewhere over here. So the trail goes, one trail goes to the Glacier Vista Point, and one trail goes to the base camp. So at this point, the guides will take a right turn, and most of the families will go straight to take a look at the glacier. But for you guys, you'll go this to find this nice ridge line to walk on. And this ridge line has beautiful flowers and things like that. Let's see if some of the photos capture it. You might see some of the meadows coming out, but let's see. Uh, you can see some flowers over here, right? So it's pretty awesome over here, this path, even though it is the steepest part of the entire trip to the base camp. You are surrounded by all these awesome views, like on the left, right, on your path. You just are enjoying it. It's super fun. So it takes about like 3 hours to get to the base camp over here. For some reason, if you had decided that, hey, over here it is crowded and we need to camp somewhere else, the other spot to camp is closer to somewhere over here. So you actually walk on a glacier and get to this spot. Um, and this spot has like flat grounds next to the rocks, where most of the people camp as some other people camp as well. What this does is two things. You carry the weight all the way to the top over here, which is not much, which is another like 200 feet of gain. So you have plenty of time. You are like pretty much not done any workout to get to the base camp anyways. But uh, that's 200 feet. But the next day, it's pretty small hike to the summit, you know. So it's much more greater chances of summiting as well. But the downfall is you have to melt all the snow to get the water, whatever we need. So which means like more fuel to carry, more stuff to do at the base camp. So mostly people prefer to camp at the base over here. Um, but yeah, um, pros and cons, right? You have to weigh it out. But yeah, and then pretty much the other day, like when you are resting, you will be doing some practice as a rope travel. I don't know whether you guys practice traveling in ropes on over the weekend. Did you?
No.
Okay, yeah. So that will be new, and you'll practice that over the rest day uh, to uh, to actually like walk in ropes. And if somebody slips in the rope, then everybody arrests. And it's a like if you hear anybody like say fall, you by default go to like self-arrest mode wherever you're standing, right? And you practice that, and then you practice passing the rope through the pickets, so that if it is used up on the mountain, you will know like, hey, the reason to do that is, for example, there's a snow bridge over here, that which we were talking over here at the base of the Roman wall. Let's say there's a snow bridge which is a little bit longer, so you take like a couple of steps on the snow bridge. We think that it is good, but in order to be ultra safe, if guides have some kind of question on that, they put like pickets before and after the crevasses. So when you're walking, you put the rope through it, right? So if somebody slips, the rope is attached to that anchor, and the anchor is attached to the snow, to the ground basically, which is good. And given the technique that they use, and you will, even if you don't arrest, you will fall onto that picket basically, and you will not fall all the way down to the mountain, right? So that's the idea of protections. And I don't know whether I showed you picket, but it's like a metal piece, like a 2 feet long, and it is driven vertically, typically like close to vertical, down to the snow. And there's like a thing that comes out, which is called as like a runner or a webbing, and that has a carabiner at the end, and you pass the rope through the carabiner. It's as simple as that, but there are some knots that are attached to your harness, which makes it difficult to like pass from one side of the carabiner to the other side without undoing it. So you learn that small technique and practice that before going to the summit. But yeah, and then yeah, and then pretty much the entire thing, as I told you, like typically I've seen people when they start from the base camp, they get to this point, take a break, and then they pretty much walk all the way to the base of the Roman wall. They take a break, and they take a break at the football field and get to the summit. So basically, they are having like 3 or 4 breaks to the summit. And the other thing I didn't mention is the timeline of all these activities. But I can talk about that in like 10-15 minutes. But let me open up for questions if you have anything. And I can also talk about pre-climb routine and sleep concerns during that time.
So what would a summit pack from base camp to the summit consist of?
Yeah, so pretty much you're wearing your monitoring socks, boots, and crampons. You're wearing your monitoring pants. And if it's like rainy or windy, you might wear rain pants. Rain pants, but just monitoring pants. And then you'll have your harness on your body. I'm talking about on the body right now. And then obviously for top, you will be typically wearing like 2 layers to just start hiking. Typically, if it's too sunny or too hot, you might just be on 1 layer. If it's too cold, you might be more layers, right? But at least like base layer and like a fleece jacket is typically where people start. Typically, and then always you'll be wearing your helmet with a headlamp already attached to it, and yeah, so that's what your body looks like, the things on your body. But in your pack, the remaining things go, which is basically your water, right? That you need to drink every now and then, some snacks for all those 4 breaks or 5 breaks, right? So I talked about 4 breaks. It typically takes about like 4.5 to 5 hours to get to the summit. That's why there are only those many breaks. But if you take longer time, or for whatever reasons, you can take, obviously we'll have more breaks to eat, right? So you can adjust your snacks that you will need for the climb, and put in your pack accordingly. And I have few things more, because you may not know, like if you need anything more, and if sometimes you may enjoy more food at the summit. I love chocolates at the summit. So yeah, so snacks, water, and then you will have your rain jacket if you're not wearing it inside the pack. You'll have your big down jacket inside your pack in case anything, weather rolls or anything bad happens and we have to stop somewhere for longer period of time. So you might feel cold. So it's good to have that. And then obviously some space to put your headlamp in, and your crampons inside your bag, if the snow is softer while coming down. So you need to have space in that bag. And then you will need your sunscreen, lip balm, glacier glasses inside your pack while going up because it's dark, but then you will need it when the sun comes up, right? Then obviously you will have bandana or buff inside it, and you will be wearing some liners and gloves, but it's good to have extra liners in there. And once, if you're not wearing heavy mittens, uh, and you're wearing only fingered gloves, it's good to have mittens in your backpack as well, since if you happen to stay, you might get cold, so you will need like heavy gloves, right? So that's that, but that's about it.
So the backpack for the summit, I mean, in my Gregory backpack, there's a separate small backpack that
What's
they
the
say it's a
capacity of
summit
that?
pack. I don't know. I can
Yeah,
find
if
out
it's like
probably.
15 liters to 20, 20 is
15,
ideal
20 liters.
because it is easier to like play around and figure out what I need to take and put it in. If it's 15, it works okay, but it becomes like a little bit of hassle of like figuring out like, oh, this is not what I wanted, but it's on the top, but I cannot like go around it and to get through the stuff from the bottom. So yeah,
Okay.
but I've carried the entire full backpack to the top. It's not worth buying the pack unless you are like, oh, I haven't trained to carry like 2 pounds more.
Okay, that
You
makes
know?
sense. So you think my dog is
Okay. Yeah, 2-3 pounds per pack. Okay, got it.
at this point?
Yeah, most of you have like Gregory or Osprey pack. So the pack itself weighs like 4.5 pounds or 4 pounds. Some of the light ones of theirs I have like 3.5 pounds. But if you carry a summit pack, it's half a pound, like 8 ounces or 10 ounces. So you're talking about like 3 pounds more. It's not a big deal to carry the 3 pounds more. Uh, but obviously, if you're concerned, then it's good to have that pack. Especially on Baker, it doesn't really matter if you carry that extra half a pound to the base camp because it might make your life to the summit easier. But yeah, you weigh in your finances over there and make your choice.
So I had another question. So before, when we start hiking from the base camp, right? So do we, like, what happens to the tent and all? Do we just wrap it up everything before starting the summit, or we just leave as it is and then wrap it when we come
Yeah,
back?
good thing I didn't talk about that. Yeah, I think the tents stay over there. At night, it's very difficult to like pack everything. And you basically, the way you pitch up your tent is like you try to anchor it to the rocks and tie all that stuff. And if you cannot do it, guides will help you out over there. And by doing that, you just go to the top and come back and the tents are there. And then you start packing basically.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments or discussion topics? Okay. So let me look at the timeline. So I'm thinking about 3-day climbs. So what will happen for a 3-day climb? I'm just gonna arbitrarily choose some times to make the trip plan. So let's meet at 5 o'clock in the morning at Park and Ride to make sure we have all the essentials and whatever the gear that you have rented or anything like that is distributed, and everybody is accounted for. And then we'll drive to Glacier, which takes about 2.5 hours or so. So we'll all meet over the Glacier, and we'll designate like a ranger. Everybody knows where to find that, so everybody gets that address and drives to that spot. And then you can go to tea break or whatever, have like breakfast at that time, and then drive to the trailhead. And typically it takes like around 30 minutes for everybody to like relax and then get the permits and all that stuff. So it's more leisure time. And then you drive, and then once you drive, then you can ask questions to guys like, hey, do I need rain pants, do I need this, do I need this? And especially if there's a group gear like rope to carry or something like that, they might give it to you, or stuff to carry, a gas canister, or a PLB or something like that. They will probably try to even out the load among everybody. So they'll give it out to you. and you'll need to have some space, so you'll do some packing over there at the trailhead, obviously a little bit. And then once you're done with that, you wear your boots, gaiters. Gaiters I really don't wear to the base camp, but up to you. Because it also helps with like some water infiltration into the shoes from the top, so it is sometimes good. But if it's too hot, it's okay to avoid wearing gaiters because you sweat a lot. It's too warm in your feet if you wear gaiters. But you do that, obviously freshen up and lock your keys. And typically you start hiking by like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And basically, yeah. And then takes about like 3 hours, as I like told you, like let's say 2 o'clock you reach the base camp. You set up your base camp, and you decide like first like what you have to understand what's the space that your tent is going to take, and find that space. And not only find the space of the floor space of the tent, but also understand like the rain flight requires more space, so you need to test it out in the room at your home to understand what the space requirements of your tent are. If you found a wrong space, then you have to move it again, so which is troublesome. And somebody else might have taken that spot also, so it's very troublesome to like go through that process again and again if you don't know. So take a tent, pitch it out, and see how big it is and how much space does it require, and find that space over there. Because the reason is, if the rain flies are within the limits, then it's great. If it's outside the limits, the wind will flow below the rain fly and still affect your tent. If it's not properly like anchored and like properly leveled near the base. So small things like that, but you don't have to worry about it. The guides will say like, hey, this doesn't look good, right? But then you pitch up your tent first. You pitch up your tent, put the rain fly on, you put the sleeping pad and sleeping bag laid out, and then one thing, you take out your backpack. And the biggest thing that you are looking out right now is like to eat something, drink something, have dinner, and then get into your more layers as the sun sets, right? And then organize your tent basically. Since it is everybody will be having their own tents, you are free to put anything anywhere. But yeah, as we talked about last time, do keep in mind about few things that you have to take care of before going to the summit bed. And typically, uh, if it's a 2-day climb, you sleep by like 7 or 8. Some people wait for the sunset, enjoy the sunset, and go for a sleep, but that also means that you have less sleep. This pretty much comes to the question of like sleep concerns. For Baker, it's not that bad of a deal because you start at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. For other mountains, you start at like midnight, 11 or 12, which is a bigger concern. But typically you sleep at least for an hour. So on Baker, I've slept for like 6 hours if I sleep from like 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And this is where this becomes much more important. For the new folks, it takes about an hour to get ready in the morning. So if you practice it well enough and you exactly know that you need 30 minutes, it's okay to wake up 30 minutes before you get out of your tent. But if you have not practiced enough, you have to get up an hour before. So if the guide says like, meet me at this spot at 2 o'clock, then you should be there at that spot at 1:55. To make sure that your summit chances are going to be good. If you are late to that spot, your summit chances are going to get reduced, and this stress on you will be there all along the way. So do not do that. Be like 5 minutes before at every spot that you are required to be there, right? Um, and back calculate when do you want to sleep, and try to sleep at that time. And typically, if you're not able to sleep at like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, if you lay down um, and don't do any movements, eventually, because of the hike and carrying load, your body is a little bit tired. You eat a lot of food, you feel a little bit cozy, and hopefully in 30 minutes or 1 hour, you get to sleep. So account for that as well. And all you need is like good 4 hours of sleep. Um, More is better. Less than 4 hours is kind of like a nap, uh, in my regard, which means that you'll feel like sleepy and yawny all the way. But then once you come back down, you can sleep for a couple of hours if you are down by like 10 a.m. or something, and then get packing and go back down, right? So you can get freshened before you leave the base camp. So don't worry that you have to do this entire trip in a day without sleeping after the night, right? There's always some time, depending upon how long you take to get to the summit and coming back. If it's the same day that you're coming back down, but if it's a different day that you're coming back down, then it makes it easier. But it's not a big deal to like walk all the way down for 3 miles. This is the smallest, shortest route for, you know, I mean, there are shorter routes than this, but it's like 12 miles round trip to the summit, and people do this in a day trip. So I do not think like very big requirements are there in regard to fitness. So you should be able to like do whatever you guys have achieved so far. But yeah, that's a timeline. And let's talk about midnight starts. Yeah, one thing I want to mention before I go there is when you come back, I've always seen people having, when they pack their backpacks going from base camp back to the cars, it gets bigger, and and it's not properly packed, and you will see like shapes in the backpack. If you remember, like when I packed the backpack, or when you see the videos online, it's like one big unit, right? It's not like a balloon shape where you tie something in the between. So it's not like balloony like that, like bulging out from the center. It's never like that. It should be like one unique thing. And obviously, like due to like being snow present and being in the weather, you cannot concisely pack everything to the same size that you can do at home. But practice that. Open everything up, spread everything apart, put up a tent. Ask me questions if you don't know how to anchor your tents. Those tiny things that I showed you that go into the ground, they are useless on rock or snow. Basically, so there are different ways of tying the knots around the rock and anchoring your tent into the snow. You can find it online, and if not, I can show you by creating a small video when I do it at home and share that. But where was I? Yeah, so you need to practice that. Spreading it apart, packing it everything in, so that practice is more important, so that efficiently you are able to pack everything down while before starting. This is where I also see a lot of delay in newbies, where they want to pack everything and they take like 2-3 hours to pack everything. You should be able to efficiently pack within 30 minutes and eat something, get ready, and start walking, right? So practice that. So let's go to midnight starts. I think I talked about it. Midnight starts is basically you backtrack it, and if you wanna create a good habit, 1 or 2 weeks before, start sleeping at like 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. After that, don't keep anything on your screen, TVs, anything like that. Have dinner at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and start having that habit of sleeping at 9 p.m. or so. It helps you on the mountain to like sleep a little bit earlier. Sleep concerns on a baker, I have not seen any big concerns. The only thing would be like anxiety that you might have that I'm going to the summit. If not, for the weather. Most of the times we know what the weather will look like, so you can anticipate. But the bad weather would be like too windy, too cold, and rainy, which I've not witnessed in the month of after mid-June at least. Early June, I've seen some snowy patches and things like that. But it's not that bad of a cold because the temperatures, where the temperatures are like in mid 50s or 60s. At night, obviously, it is like closer to like 40s. But as soon as the sun comes up, it's again like 50s and 60s. At Summit, I've been in like just single lightweight pants and t-shirt. And one time I've been in my puffy jacket. So that shows you like the variance of the temperatures. But the sleep concerns regarding the climb for the summit, it goes back to like how you habit yourself and then try to get your sleep. I think like as long as we get 4 hours of being flat and sleeping for that time, we should be good to like do this entire thing from the base camp all the way to the cars. um, Pre-climb routine, what I follow is what I showed you, how I plan my trips. This is just visual presentation, but I also do look at like trail descriptions, find those on WTA, Mountaineers website, some guidebooks, and things like that. I also read, what people talk about. Like I was talking about like this is the Eliothrop Ridge over here. This is the Coleman Seracs. Kind of finding landmarks so that whenever you come across, like I was saying, like stream crossing. So those landmarks are pretty important. Like when you come across, you know where you are on the mountain. That helps you psychologically and mentally to like understand. Oh, there's this much left. That's cool. No biggie. Things like that. And this the ridge line where I was showing you flowers and things like that. Some landmarks I know where it is. I know there's Colfax Peak. I can visually see it and understand like, yeah, it's prominent. I know that. You know. And this is all the north side of the not north side, this is like northwest side of the mountain. This is like north face. People also do ice climbing while going over here and coming to the top and climb this way, on this side, on the left side. There's ice climbing route. But yeah, I think this is pretty mellow route for the beginners. I leave it over there. Oh yeah, sorry, I was talking about pre-climb routine. um, so I do this planning, I read descriptions, I read guidebooks, I look at the weather forecast, I look at 2, 3 weather forecasts. If you guys remember, like we used to do share links of the weather based on weather.gov website. So you can pinpoint exactly where you want. And you can also change the elevation and see at what elevation, what kind of weather it is. So watch for the weather, like, from the week before the climb to like 2 through at least the day before the trip. At least look at that and understand like what you're expecting, and you can understand what kind of layers you need. That is good. I It is 10,000 feet peak, so there is an altitude. Oh, I didn't talk about that. Okay, there's an altitude situation because you're going above 8,000, so that might arrive. So uh, but I've not seen many disturbances because you're not staying about 8,000, you're staying at like 5,800, and you're going to 10,000, but you're not staying, you're coming back to 5,000 at the least, or 6,000 at the least. So when you're doing that workout and coming back down, you only feel exhaustion when you're above. uh, feel like you're breathing hard at times if it is affecting you. I've not felt it at 10,000, but some people might have or could. So that would be something that you want to keep in mind. I'll talk about some of the symptoms of high altitude so that you can think about how my body affects and what I can do. But if you are very hesitant and you're like, I want to play conservative, you can take Diamox. It's a prescribed medicine. It's You have to take it before the trip and continuously take it to in order to for it to be effective. If you take it when you feel the symptoms, it takes some time to activate within your body, and that chemical reaction, whenever it occurs, it helps you down the line after some time. So it's not helpful after you see the symptoms, right? So it's good to take it before. So Diamox is a good medicine if you're worried about altitude. And yeah, that's my trip planning. And the other things that I'm not covering right now for trip planning or pre-climb routine is taken care by the guides, like permits and other things. Yeah, and obviously no workouts that week. uh, and 2 weeks before the trip, I stopped doing weighted backpacking or weighted hiking. I start doing like day packs, just run up the mountain or hikes, or walk, whatever you can, right? And put more mileage and enjoy the last 2 weeks before you go on a mountain. Nothing strenuous at all. I hope I've covered everything. If not, feel free to ask questions. Other than that, I'm done over here based on Baker, but I will talk about altitude sickness a little bit. Any questions? Are you guys sleeping?
No. Good. This was good.
I don't know. I can't see the faces, so I don't know. All right. So where was I? I wanted to talk about altitude stuff. Yeah. So here it is. So let me share this screen. Hmm. So I'm not talking about patient resistance. This is all first aid, but yeah, altitude, right? So typically, and this is typical. Let me see if I can put it full screen so that you guys can see it. Can you guys see it much more better now? Bigger letters, I hope. Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. So basically, altitude, like typically it's about 8,000 feet. That's where people start feeling it. It doesn't mean that you cannot feel it at the 7,000 feet. It's like basically 95% of the people feel it about 8,000, above 8,000. So that's one thing to remember, right? So yeah, so let's assume like about 8,000 we will feel it, so let's be prepared for that. So what are the symptoms and what are the things that our body gets affected, right? So symptoms of high altitude, like the first thing that you might see is there are two categories of illnesses due to altitude. One is affecting your head, your mind, the other thing affecting your lungs. And there are two different things. And the head is more mental, and your what do you call, um, alertness, alert and orientation is different, and that changes your like and affects your like thought process and everything. And anything for your lungs affects your breathing and all the other things. So it's pretty different stuff. So those are two different compartments that will be affected due to altitude. The one thing which is ed, it's pretty easier to identify, because anything that is painful in your head, you see headaches basically, right? So headache is the first symptom, but headaches can be caused due to so many different things. So that alone is not an high altitude sickness, or we call as acute mountain sickness, which is AMS. It is not that. Okay, so when headache is complemented with all the other symptoms, such as you're dizzy, you're nauseated, and you're vomiting, when these things are combined together, that's when, oh, the altitude is affecting me. That's what the altitude is causing. So your body now is like actually affecting. And I've had one situation with one of my climbers where she was vomiting whatever she ate, and she had like a little bit of light headache. So obviously we knew like she was having mild AMS. But uh, when we found out that we could have some kind of food so that she's not vomiting, and that is a good source of energy, we wanted to see how far she can go. And she submitted Rainier and came back down without any severe increase in headache or anything like that. So when AMS is present, you monitor it pretty lightly, and you monitor it. And if it increases, that's when it's like bad, you have to turn around. So this is the place where guides will be able to like say like, okay, let's see how you feel like after 1 hour. Let's see how you feel like when you get to this elevation. On Baker, it's pretty much not a big deal, because about 8,000 you're getting to the summit basically, and the Roman wall you cannot stop in between. So you understand the conditions of people are feeling at the base of the Roman wall or at the top of the Roman wall. So those are the two cases. There is no in between spot for you to check that. But if you have too bad of a concern, that's why we don't typically see it. If we see it, we see it at the football field, and we turn around pretty quickly. But then if it is AMS, we monitor it, how bad it is getting. If it is not getting worse, we can control it. we can live with it, and we will eventually go down anyways. And as we go down, you start to feel very awesome again. So that's pretty good to understand like how that affects your body. But if you ignore it, and if this gets very severe, what it takes you is it mind controls your body movements, right? So it changes your walk, and you're like clumsy, you are not able to walk in a straight line. You sometimes you're like altered mental status, which means um, you don't know what you're talking about basically. You think you know, but the other people who are listening to you, they're like you're talking gibberish for them, right? So that is like pushing it too far. And um, this is where if this gets to that level, that means like there's already fluid inside your brain, and which is making it swell basically, and that is not good. And when that happens, the only way to help you is by helicopter evacuation. It's not by hiking down. AMS, you can hike down and you'll feel better. But ACE, which is high altitude cerebral edema, which is like fluid in your brains, that is going to be very bad. So you want to keep in, you are playing with it, like you have the mild symptoms. Let's make sure it is not getting worse. But if you push it too bad, then you get into this situation, and that is very bad. So always monitor and always tell your guides that, hey, I'm feeling this, and they'll be able to understand whether it's altitude related or whether it's affecting your body or not. So always be proactive again to tell your symptoms to your guides. So this is all about head though, your mind. um, the same thing can happen to your lungs, like fluid filling in your lungs. And when that thing happens, there is no small symptoms. It's already pushed, you have already pushed too much basically. And those are symptoms like you will see like in the higher altitude, like Everest folks and other folks, like they talk about kumbu ice fall coughs, basically kumbu coughs, or dry coughs, which is like basically as you go higher in elevation, you have a cough basically. And then you get out of breath with simple activities, like you cannot even walk, you're getting out of breath. Your muscles are like fatigued, your lips are turning blue and things like that, which are pretty bad. And when these signs are there, you already push too much. When you start seeing those conditions develop, that's where you have to like stop and go back basically. And uh, the reason, the one way to understand this is to make sure you're pushing, not pushing too hard. Obviously, out of breath you will be there, you will see that when you're hiking up on the elevations. It's not always ape, which is high altitude pulmonary edema, which is filling of fluids in your lungs. But um, I would say like out of breath is typical when you're working out, right? So it's not like a symptom that you can always say like it is high altitude. So what you want to do is every 1 hour, if you take a break for 5 minutes, if you're not coming back to your normal yourself, normal breathing, that means like something is affected. And typically people come back to normal breathing within 2 to 3 minutes, if they are even at higher altitude. On Everest, it is different. I'm talking about Washington State. Um, and I've not seen anything beyond that. So that's why people have this habit of like climbing 1,000 feet in 1 hour, taking a break for 5 minutes, making sure everything is going good, and push for the next hour and keep doing that. So if you, for some reason, if you're like pushing for 2 hour, 3 hour continuous walk, and you're saying like, hey, I can eat and drink while I'm walking, that may be good at a particular time. But when you're seeing these symptoms, you may not be able to notice, and you're walking all the way down, especially like when you're tied to a rope team and when you're not vocal and you're not letting anybody know like you're having symptoms. They will not understand it, they will not know it, and they will be pushing you because you're tied to their rope and you are the one suffering it. So which is bad. We have witnessed one person seeing that in on Mount Rainier at 13,000 feet, and he was helicopter evacuated. It took like 3 weeks for him to get back to normal. He was carrying all oxygen tank with him all those 3 weeks to recover. But then the other thing for ape is, since the fluid is filled inside your lungs, you will hear some like crackling sound from the base of your lungs uh, over here, which is also a sign, a symptom for altitude. entire this thing can be avoided, not avoided. You can still have it because medicines are not 100% solving the purpose. They're not at least proven to be 100% successful. So what you need to do is take Diamox, basically, if you're going above 8,000, and it's a prescription drug. So you can talk to your doctors, and there are like doctors on the phone as well that you can talk to, and they will be able to prescribe on the line online, and then give you the email, and then you can like go to the pharmacy and get the drugs. But yeah, so that is good for AMS. If you go to ACE, there's kind of different drug that guides carry, and if you have gone there, they can probably help you in giving that. But these drugs are prescribed drugs, everything, so you should have it yourself. So guides may say like, hey, I'm going to this is not like this is getting recorded, so I should not say this, but sometimes what I do is I just tell my folks that, hey, this is my medicine bag, but I need to take a leak and I'll be back, you know, because I cannot give it to you because it's a prescription drug. So it's all up to you to take it, and for me it's like you finding it and having it is not my problem. But yeah, so and then ape is another drug which is like it's good to carry, like steroids and things like that for the ape. But again, like this happens like when you're staying more than 2 days on high altitude, and you're not doing that, you're staying at like at 5,000 6,000, which is not high altitude by these standards. And ace is typically seen when you are pretty much very high. So I don't see that happening, but so we typically recommend Diamox, since that is the most commonly seen thing. And obviously drink more water. Physical exhaustion, migraine headaches, and alcohol. Don't take alcohol and have a proper hygiene to avoid all of this, because anything you do with that, have alcohol the night before or the day or at the base camp, is not going to help you with altitude. But yeah, that's about it. Alrighty, I am now done with my talk. I'm thirsty.
All right. Thanks. This was very good.
Super useful. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks. It was really good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll wait over here if you have any questions so that I can see everybody go. But if you don't have questions, I think you are free to leave. Have a good night's sleep.
Hey,
Thanks, guys.
will
And
the guides be sending some like the more detailed plan?
Yeah,
for,
like the way you got like the snow skill strip plan, you will get a
Yeah.
similar kind of stuff in the email for the baker.
And do
So
you know the
you will
guides for the different dates?
what?
Do you know the guides for the different dates?
I don't know the baker guides.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
hey, thank you, Katie, and thank you, and all the people who are going to Baker next week. Best of luck.
Yeah,
next
good
couple of
luck,
weeks.
Chaitanya, Madhur, and Sandeep. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the first
And
bucket
share your
hat.
experiences on WhatsApp, share photos, and yeah.
Hey, do you know like about Signal? Until what point
Oh
they
yeah, I
have?
think you will have signal at Heliotrope. I think I've seen signal on the base camp. I don't remember the summit. I think some people have network over there, I think. But yeah, I'm not
I
entirely
have.
at the
sure.
summit as well. Okay.
Yeah.
I use Verizon, and I had some signal on the summit last year, but it was a little spotty.
Mm.
The
Oh, okay.
base camp was fine though. It was easy to check the weather and all that.
Awesome. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. Very helpful.
Yep. Cool.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Katie.
Yep. Good night.
Katie, I just had a quick one. I think you covered it a little bit, but it's about like exposure and like a fear of heights. I
Oh
think
yeah.
your tips there were kind of just like go out and face it, kind of like ease yourself into it, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think yeah, like I think I was thinking about like trying like I've seen the biggest fear I've seen is like looking at the landscape and like the steeper slopes going down. That's a common one I've seen. And the way I kind of mitigated those folks is like by able to like walk besides them. But obviously, given the situation, it is not possible.
Yeah.
And but what it does is when I do that, their view changes and they either are distracted by talking to me or they're only focused at their footsteps to take the next step. So I think that's what I understood from that, what I've seen from other folks. And that has quite helped me to give them guidance like, hey, just focus on your footsteps and think about that. And if you have a good break, we can gather together and talk more and like, kind of like distraction basically.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I think the hardest part for me was the moraine to base camp. It wasn't like anything on the actual snow,
Oh,
which was
really?
my guides were pretty surprised about that. But yeah, that was how I felt, where like the
Mm,
Roman wall was not a huge deal. Even looking down was a little like, yeah, but it was more walking along the rail grade there on the eastern route. Yeah.
mm, okay. Yeah, I think, oh, rail grid on the eastern route, I see. Yeah. Yeah, that route is a little bit different. And yeah, you could probably see that. Was it
It
because
wasn't
of the
bad though.
gully or?
It was more just like you said. I really just had to focus more on my steps and kind of block out distractions, and that worked fine for me. So
Yeah, yeah. It's sometimes different fear for different people. So
yep, exactly. Yep, everyone's different.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This was really helpful.
Okay, cool.
See you around.
Yep, see ya. Hey Madhvi, do you have any questions or? Okay, I'm gonna end the call then.